Today on the channel, back from San Diego Comic-Con 2023. In today's video, we're going to break down all the news and notes from AEW Jazzwares and all the other miscellaneous wrestling figure lines.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another news video. As today we're breaking down all the AEW news and notes from San Diego Comic-Con, as well as all the other wrestling figure lines that are not WWE in this very video. We're just going to go through it, take a look at some of the pictures, talk about it, give some thoughts, give some opinions, give some commentary along the way. And I, of course, was at San Diego Comic-Con, as most people that are watching this video probably do know. Voice is a little hoarse, a little bit sick. Obviously, a long days out there in San Diego. As you can imagine, it's a very busy deal. San Diego Comic-Con, I think at one point I went 40 hours without sleep. So I'm trying to get back in it, trying to get back in the swing of things, trying to grab some sleep eventually. But yeah, I don't think I've ever stayed up that late in my life. So there you go, right there. The more you know, folks. But let's break it down, and let's start with AEW Jazzwares. Now, of course, AEW Jazzwares has been at San Diego Comic-Con in the past, not as long as Mattel, as we all know. And Jazzwares is a lot more than just wrestling. Of course, AEW is what we really care about a lot. We got to take that business step back, as the most people that are going to San Diego Comic-Con Jazzwares booth, guess what? They're looking for Pokemon, they're looking for Fortnite, they're looking for the Squishmallows, the mighty Squishmallows. That's what they're looking for there. And a lot of people were down on Jazzwares in the AEW line, like, why don't they have as big of a spread as Mattel does? Why don't they have all this stuff? We're not comparing apples to apples there. Of course, Jazzwares, they love their wrestling. They love their AEW. My buddy, my personal friend, Jeremy Padower, he loves the AEW. I love the AEW figures as well, but it's still in its infancy. They got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Like who said? We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Jerry Reed said, exactly right. So they got a long ways to go. They're still trying to build the brand, still trying to really get it figured out. And AEW is a very niche product in the grand scheme of things. And we got to remember that. We always got to take that big step back, because as much as we love AEW, it doesn't hold a candle to Pokemon and Squishmallows. That's just the cold, hard business facts right there. But they did have a set, almost like a detolf is what you could call it there, I guess, at San Diego Comic-Con. You had 3 different shelves or so. You had different things showing off. Of course, they had the Sting exclusive there. That was quite the set. That is quite the set. We will be unboxing that on the channel. I did grab those, so I did end up waiting in line. There was a lot of line waiting at San Diego Comic-Con. We might talk more about that in the weekly toy news video on Saturday, so stay tuned to that. But the Sting exclusive shown there for everybody. Everybody got to take a look at that. Very cool, of course. And then you saw some of the future lineups going on, and even a mix of some older figures as well. Nothing earth-shattering in the cases. I think that is a fair assessment. You know, they had opposed out, things like that, but not a whole lot going on there. But, you know, the big controversy around the time was the Bunny figure. Yes, the Bunny is coming, we know. She was replaced with Wardlow in the regular line. That upset a lot of people. Of course, that Wardlow figure was shown in the case. A little longer hair Wardlow, I guess we'll call it. Hair down Wardlow, however you want to put it out there. But the Bunny was kind of removed from that. Now, there is some business talk about that, and let's take that big step back once again. I know we all want the Bunny, but we are such a minority in the grand scheme of things. We always have to take that business step back and think through everything. It's tough to do because we're passionate about this. It's very important to us, but to the rest of the world and to the bottom business line, maybe it's not as important as it is to us. They want to make, they don't want to have peg warmers going on. And let's be honest, as much as we want the Bunny, is she going to have the same fate as an Anna Jay, a Ty Conti, a Rio, maybe, you know, Nyla Rose, some of those, as traditionally the females just do not sell at the same point of their male counterparts. That is a fair assessment. We see it with our own eyes out there. Now, moving the Bunny to a possibility of a 1 of 5,000, and it sounds like it will be available online, and we're going to get that in a second as well. But if she's a 1 of 5,000, let's think about it a little bit. Does that reset things a little bit? Obviously, she's going to be shorter packed than Wardlow, for instance. Wardlow, our old friend Wardlow. There'll be more of him out there in a whole. But as a whole, more people probably are going to buy Wardlow than the Bunny. So 1 of 5,000 have a Chase Rare Edition. Obviously, that's going to make people buy it, even if they don't want it, because, oh, it's Chase Rare. But maybe that's all that needs made is 5,000 bunny figures. Maybe that's the level set right there. So it goes to stores. If it goes to stores, it goes out there. 5,000 is basically the demand for the bunny figure. That is kind of a way to look at it there. I think it's one of those ways to level set the female performers. Once again, they just don't sell as much as their male counterparts. There'll be less, but in the grand scheme of things, it might be the perfect amount. Very well could be. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. I guess we could dive into this a little bit right now. Now, they did, of course, have their panel. Jeremy leading the charge on the panel there, talking Squishmallows, talking Pokemon, talking the other properties, but they also talked AEW. Very cool surprise, bringing a man called Sting in there. Little stingers like myself, we all love Sting. And then Danhausen was there as well. So brothers in paint, everybody loves face paint. So we had Sting and Danhausen coming into the panel there is a little surprise, so that's always fun. Of course, Danhausen was around all weekend, all over Comic-Con, as we do know, and he was in a lot of stuff. Jazzware's pictures all over online of Danhausen working the circuit out there going on. But the big announcement was, there's a few big announcements from Jeremy there. He did talk about Jazzware's Vault. So really putting my head around it. Obviously, there's more details to come. You can go to Jazzware's and sign up for the Vault. I did do that. So I'm on their email list, so we'll get more information in the future. But it sounds like it's going direct to consumer, cutting out the middleman being Targets, Walmarts, etc. Now, we've talked about that on the channel in the past, that most companies out there, I don't care if we're talking toys, tools, whatever, they are looking at a way, how can we move to the consumer without the Targets and Walmarts? Jazzware is apparently no different. It's nice because they can give stuff to you that maybe wouldn't sell at traditional retail. Also, traditional retail doesn't have to have their cut. They get more of the profit. So every single company is trying to get that to work, trying to figure that out. It'll be interesting in the future to see how exactly that does go. And I do think that will be one of the big things in the next 10 years or so that gets fixed and figured out by a lot of these companies. But it sounds like Jazzware is dipping their toes in the water there with a Vault line. So we're going to be able to go to this Vault site and we'll be able to order the product there. And now possibly the bunny might be up at certain times. They'll say, hey, Friday at 9 a.m., the bunny is up. Limited quantities, all the quantities, whatever it may be, they will be up on the Vault. Make sure you go there. So now everybody gets a fair chance at this bunny figure. And let's be honest, 5,000 might be the perfect number. I don't think you will have any trouble getting that figure if that's what they end up doing. We'll see what happens, because we always got to take that business step back as well. Not everybody is as in tune. There's a lot of ancillary people that buy, and most ancillary people probably not buying the bunny. But if they are ancillary, they're not going to know about the Vault. They're not going to want to take that extra step to go online and get the figure. So we'll see how that hands out. But it sounds like the Vault, the first big thing with the Vault is going to be Ring of Honor figures. Now, these have been teased for a while, talked about for a while. Well, now here we are. We got packaging design, and first things first, the packaging design, very interesting to me, as it seems to be plastic-free packaging, which I find very, very interesting there. Not a huge fan of that, especially Mid-On Card Collectors, probably not a big fan of that either, but it looks like they will have plastic-free packaging in the Ring of Honor line. Now, the Ring of Honor line is going to have Kenny Omega, Danhausen, Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, and then some 2-packs. We'll talk about those here in a second. But that's going to be the inaugural Ring of Honor line, and I think we have to be a little bit honest with ourselves here. I'm not against this line. I'm an old school Ring of Honor guy, going back to the HD Net days and stuff like that. It used to be on TV, I think, and then it went to Access. I don't know. But anyways, I've been watching Ring of Honor on to Sinclair, things like that. And I got in right at the very end of, I think, the Kevin Owens days or Kevin Steen days. So I was around. I've seen a lot of the older stuff as well. Definitely lapsed fan for me after ECW closed down. Ring of Honor kind of filled that hole. Took me a couple of years to get on board. I would never say I'm a massive, massive fan, but I saw most of the stuff throughout the years. So this is very cool to old school Ring of Honor fans and very cool to AEW fans, because a lot of the top AEW talent, as we see here, are top talent from back in the day for Ring of Honor. Now, I think this is a great online-only line because, let's be honest, these are some deep-cut looks of some of these guys. Claudio with the long hair. Most people wouldn't even know he has long hair if you take, once again, that step back. Not a lot of old-school fans back there remember him his time with hair. Most people think of him as his Cesaro look. I think that's pretty honest there. Danhausen, a little bit newer. Danhausen's had so many figures, man. he's just raking all that money into the bank there. A lot of figures for Danhausen. Kenny Omega, once again, very young version of Kenny Omega, very young version of Bryan Danielson. Very cool soft goods jacket with this one. This looks like a really good figure. 2 different head sculpts as well. Now, the thing that stands out between all these figures, though, is how plain Jane they are. Danhausen, besides Danhausen there, but very plain Jane figures. You know, you get Kenny Omega just in some trunks, and that's basically it at retail. As much as people like Kenny Omega, that's not going to set the world on fire. It's just not going to happen. So I think it is smart to have these a little bit more limited and an online exclusive figure. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. It gives the Ring of Honor, it gives the hardcore fans something, but it also doesn't worry about clogging up shelf space and, at the end of the day, ruining shelf space, because you have too many peg warmers out there at retail, Target, Walmart, whatever you want to talk about. If your goods are not selling, guess what? You're not going to get as much space in the future. It's one of those things. It's like, hey, it's great. Jack's back in the day, we're going to throw stuff out all the time. We're going to keep turning and burning all the time. Sometimes that's not the best. I've been told this YouTube channel here, Kyle, don't put out 3 videos a day. It kills your channel's growth. It kills that. Well, I enjoy doing this, so I guess that doesn't matter to me. I don't know, but that's neither here nor there. But that's kind of the same thing with action figures. You put too much stuff out there constantly, and things don't sell like you want it to. Things start clogging up, stopping future growth. We saw with the He-Man Origins line, one of the best examples the last couple of years, just really messed that whole line up, and a lot of frustrated collectors. And we see that with Jazzwares as well, with some of the eternal peg warmers out there. So I think it's a smart move taking some of these figures, and who knows, maybe some of the other deeper cut figures from AEW. Instead of putting them in Unrivaled and Unmatched, you go direct to consumer. You get the same packaging, same everything, but let's say it's the bunny. Bam, you pick it up right there. You can still get your figure, and it doesn't hurt their chances at retail. So really smart, and we do know Jeremy Padower, very, very smart businessman. He didn't get to where he is without not knowing all these things and having a good team around him as well. So an interesting development with that Ring of Honor line. We're going to stay tuned for more information. There's still a lot of information, price point, when they go on sale, all that kind of stuff to come. So we'll talk about that. They also announced Ring of Honor 2-packs, and of course the first one, the Briscoe brothers. I mean, very cool tribute there. Of course, Jay Briscoe did pass away not too long ago. So very cool to get Briscoes in this style. It's about time we get a good Briscoe. One of the most important tag teams of the last 20 years in a lot of ways, for sure. So we're getting them in the Ring of Honor 2-pack. Cole and O'Reilly, once again, top talent in AEW now. Young cut their teeth in Ring of Honor. Very cool to get them in a 2-pack. And then Young Bucks, of course, when Ring of Honor back in the day. That makes a lot of sense as well. So very, very interesting there. So yeah, it's going to be all in the future. I just don't know. We'll find out. Like I said, once we know a little bit more details, we'll talk about them. We just have pretty much renders as of right now. Looks like Death Triangle. Of course, we know Pac, we know Phoenix, we know Penta. We've had many figures of them. We are getting a 3-pack of them, so that'll be interesting. I don't know how that's going to go. We're kind of overloaded on all 3 of those characters. There's a Pac coming out just around the corner here with the old eye patch. I'm excited about that one. It'll be interesting to see how well this 3-pack sells. Be very good for mid-on-card autograph collectors to get all 3 of them on an autograph. I think that would be cool as well, but that is in our future here as well. Walmart Supreme Punk. So we know all about these Supreme figures. We've seen them before. Looks like Walmart is getting an exclusive. We've had Omega. We've had Cody Rhodes. Looks like Punk will be getting one of these in the future. Gotta think that will sell. Of course, Punk, a major star. Someone could say the biggest star in AEW. I guess it depends where you sit, and you guys know where I sit, right here at this very table. So there you go there. Stop the clock. I missed one. Of course, it happens, of course, when so many things are announced, but I did miss the AEW Jazzwares Supreme Vault exclusive, Malachi Black, another Supreme exclusive. Now, this is going to be on the Vault, which will be Jazzware's answer to, of course, Mattel Creations. We have had a Supreme Malachi Black in the past. We are getting another one with just a few little tweaks, most notably in the antler heads, a little bit extra there, and then a very cool deluxe packaging, very creepy looking packaging, which I'm here for, but that is coming from, of course, the Jazzwares Vault website. I guess more to come on the release date, and I gotta think we're gonna see a heck of a lot more stuff on the Vault in the future. We talked about Sting 101,000. That was the exclusive at San Diego Comic-Con I was most concerned for. When I first went on preview night, I made a beeline to the Jazzwares suite, or the Jazzwares set, whatever you want to call it, to get in line, and it was crazy because Squishmallows, Pokemon fans, all of them were in there. I don't know if people are going crazy for Sting. It was other stuff. There was a limit of 1 per item, so if you wanted a Squishmallow and a Sting, like me, I had to get a Squishmallow for my daughter. I had to wait in line for those. videos, and there was fights, there was people getting pushed around. The fire marshal almost shut down San Diego Comic-Con apparently a few different times. Is kind of the hubbub around the room that was going around because there was too many people, and there was rumors that it was an oversold event. It was very, very busy, as you can imagine. If you saw some of my video or you saw pictures, it was a busy, busy deal. I was very happy I got the Sting, though, because just being 1,000 just seemed a little bit scary, so I was happy I got that crossed off the list. And like I said, we will unbox that on the channel here before you know it. So there you go, small booth AEW, some stuff, some announcements in the future. Got to think we'll see a ton more after, what is it, All Out and the Wembley stuff. Somewhere around there, I think we're going to get a huge, huge flood of news and announcements. That's what they've done the last few years. A lot of people saying, why don't they go big on San Diego Comic-Con? I don't think they feel they need to, and I don't think they feel that's where they get the most buzz. They want to go to the significant AEW event of the year. That's where they want to be because that is their target audience for this. San Diego Comic-Con felt like, yeah, it's a little bit AEW, but it's also Pokemon, Jazzwares, costumes, Call of Duty, all the other lines they do, Fortnite. It's a little bit of everything where that is going to be AEW's time to shine there in September. So we'll stay tuned for that. Much more to come from that in the future. Now we turn our attention to a few different toy lines out there. Of course, the major pod group. Big Rubber guys, I just got my Matt and Brian in the mail. We will unbox those, just comparisons. I'm going to give my first and final thoughts, I guess, on the Big Rubber guys. We'll do that. But they announced some new ones coming down the line here. We are getting a black singlet Andre the Giant. Of course, longtime fans of the LJN line know the Grand Toys Andre the Giant, one of the holy grails. This one, he's going to be standing straight up, not bent to the knee. This should be a Giant Deluxe Big Rubber guy. Man, I'm here for this. You guys know I love big figures, Giants. I love the take they're doing here. I'll talk about it when that day does come. But they did announce Andre the Giant. No decided day as far as pre-orders, at least that I've heard as of yet. They also talked about the Marty Jannetty. Of course, Marty Jannetty, we knew that one was coming. Would be great if we could someday get a Shawn Michaels to match that. Hopefully that does happen. And then Ric Flair is the other big one. And I was wondering which way they're going to go with Ric Flair. And they went the way, there's two ways to go. And this is one of the ways. And it is kind of based on the Vince McMahon LJN back in the day. Of course, we've seen that LJN used in tons of Ric Flair customs over the year. It is styling and profiling Ric Flair. Easy for me to say, apparently. A very cool looking figure here. I'm definitely all in on this one. I hope they sign Flair for multiples because I want the suited Flair, of course, in my collection. That just represents him in the 80s of the era, of course. But I also want to see a Ric Flair wrestling. Give me one with a chopping hand. Give me something really cool. I hope that is in the future as well for the Big Rubber guys. So we'll see what happens there. And then we go over to Zombie Sailor Toys. Of course, Zombie Sailor wasn't at San Diego Comic-Con. Either was Big Rubber guys. But he did have some announcements for San Diego Comic-Con. He was on the Sam Roberts podcast video, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. He was over there going through some of his releases, but he also made some announcements and showed off some things. And we did see the elite scaled Brian Pillman and King Kong Bundy. I gotta say the Brian Pillman looks a little bit better than the original ones we saw. There's still some people saying they don't like it. I, of course, will wait till it's in my hands to give further judgment on this, but I thought it looks okay for what it's trying to represent, for sure. And it's cool to get elite, unrivaled, unmatched, whatever you want to say it, scaled figures from other toy lines you can mix and match. I think that is really cool. But the big one, no pun intended, is King Kong Bundy. Now, we knew he had him in the Heels and Faces retro line. Now we're getting an elite scaled one. Now, I'm here for that because a lot of customers, a lot of fans, I guess, missed out on King Kong Bundy from the Mattel days, and it looks like there's not one coming anytime soon. So this is a way to get King Kong Bundy in your packaging. It's an interesting one, though. I don't know if I like the looks of King Kong Bundy straight on. I got to see it in hand once again. He does have a little bit of Krang android body syndrome. That's what he kind of looks like, Krang from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's like the head and neck looks a little, there's something about it, but he does look like that. So I don't know. We'll see how that cleans up, but should be a very, very interesting figure. And I think a figure a lot of people are going to be wanting in their collection one way or the other. And then we also got Bastion Booger. We knew this was coming. This was a pre-order, supposedly shipping in the next month or so. What is time, especially with some of these retro companies, as we do know. But Bastion Booger coming as the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. I got my pre-order in for that one, so we'll review that on the channel as well here in the future. KWK, they did some announcements over there. The KWK Fabe Heroes, they did do some announcements this week. They did do a live stream with the Fully Posable podcast. Check out that YouTube channel if you want to see more on that. But they did announce some of the stuff, their first set there. Some ups and downs, some things behind the scenes, really limiting, knocking things off, I guess knocking things off course is probably the best way to say that for the KWK brand. But they're back on course now, and they did show some more pictures. We've seen some of these over the last couple of weeks. They did make an announcement of Series 1 officially here, but we did see Mantar. Now, I'm never going to say I'm a huge Mantar fan. He actually lived in my area and was on a lot of indie shows the last few years. Of course, he did just recently pass away a couple of weeks ago. But a very cool one. You know I love a hairy bipedal creature. I'm definitely picking these up. I want to see what all the fuss is about. But I love the toyeticness of this one. It is just very, very cool. That's one of those conversation pieces is what he looks like. Love the big buffalo head going on. Just a very good looking figure. We did see Yoshitatsu, maybe the one I'm least excited about, just because some of these other ones I have a lot longer history with. But Yoshi, of course, very big in Asia. This makes sense. This is not just something for North America or just Mexico or whatever. This is a worldwide brand. So, of course, Yoshitatsu is going to be represented. Deep connections with the KWK brand. Makes a lot of sense. There's going to be variant after variant of them. I've talked about it before. I'm not a big variant guy. I don't like all the different things. A lot of times for me, it just confuses me and frustrates me because I just have that completionist mentality, which isn't good, and I don't think I'll be able to be a completionist of this line because of all the different variants and stuff. It just gets to be too much for me, but it is really cool for the hardcore collectors. We do know there's going to be some prototypes that are going to be released out to the wild as well, like 1 of 3. Talk about winning a lottery ticket on something like that. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, but Yoshitatsu, he's going to have a merch stand exclusive, a North American exclusive, Europe exclusive, all different kinds of Yoshitatsus out there. So we'll see how that one goes. But what I'm very excited about is, of course, Yo Baby, Yo Baby, Yo. PN News, of course, a childhood favorite of mine. Some may say the greatest rapper of all time. I don't know. It's up for debate, of course. He's right up at the top of the list there, I think. But PN News getting a figure. I'm here for this. I remember the days of PN News. I was all in. Very cheesy all these years later, but when you're 8, 9 years old, you don't know any better. You think it's pretty cool. I'm here for a PN News. Once again, I love big figures. I love big characters. I'll be getting that one. And then the big announcement here, of course, is Max Moon. He is the kamikaze kid, I guess, whatever we're calling him, but Max Moon to me. Very cool entrance gear is removable on this one. This is one of those ones a lot of people would love an Elite from. A very deep cut character, but a very memorable character to a certain age bracket, myself included. Very cool to get this one in this line as well. Definitely a pickup for me. So I'm very excited about all these. And it sounds like August 1st pre-order begins, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how quick they can turn and burn these. As we've seen with many retro companies, it's kind of the line in the sand there. It says, oh, it's going to be here in 6 months, a year. It's usually about double that. We'll see if they can close up that window, get it to the consumer a little bit faster. And I do feel if some of these companies can move things a little bit faster, or at least meet some of these timelines, it's going to go a long way for them in the future as repeat customers, things like that, and the word starts getting out. So we'll see what happens there. They also announced the Orient Express coming as well. Right up there with the Power and Glory era tag teams. Of course, Power and Glory coming from Zombie Sailor. A deeper cut tag team, but one of those tag teams, if you were of the generation, you knew all about. Very cool to get them in the retro line as well. So I'm here for that. I'm a bit excited for that one. So we'll see what happens there. So that's what KWK's got going on. Hassell Toys, of course, grapplers and gimmicks. They did put out a 1 of 100 Godfather, just a repaint of the last Smoke Train figure they did put out. We did see that, and they did announce a Leto figure. Don't call him Carlito. Call him Leto. Or is it Leto? Is it the Leto Shuffle? Boz Scaggs? Oh, man, taking it back to the 70s. Little Boz Scaggs. But we got Carlito coming, of course. Carlito, a very Ruthless Aggression era favorite. One of those other ones we would love to get an Elite of. We're going to have to get a retro from Hassell Toys, so we'll see how that one ends up shaking out. More to come on that. We just got kind of the grayscale prototype image is what we got there. And then finally, I saw these and got to play with these and have these in hand. Shout out to the Master Republic team. Talked with them for a while as they did have the Ultimo Dragon Pero figure Black Taurus and Vampiro. They had those at their table. They let me play with them, pick them up and stuff. Now, a lot of people are questioning the scale, wondering about scales. Well, there was no other figures there for me to scale them to, but I will say I was very excited to see these. That Black Taurus and Ultimo Dragon figures are absolutely next level. They are a little bit more akin to basics, as we've seen some of the past ones, but man, they look good. They should be here very, very soon is what they said. So we're going to look forward to those. But a lot of Vampiro fans out there, a lot of Ultimo Dragons, a lot of Black Taurus figure fans out there. And that Black Taurus is one of those ones that is so toyetic, you're going to get people from other toy lines. I was with Foosh's Robo. Of course, Robo from the Foosh doesn't need an introduction from me. But him and I were walking around. We were playing with these things together, talking about it. He likes wrestling a whole lot. He doesn't collect a lot of wrestling, though. Likes it, doesn't collect it. We all have lines like that. He is going to pick up a Black Taurus figure just because it is so toyetic looking. And the Master Republic team was saying, yeah, they've heard from people that want to put them with their Dungeons and Dragons figures, things like that. There is reuse out of this figure, but it is so toyetic, so cool looking. I cannot wait to get that one in my hands. I'm for all these toy lines. I want more wrestling figures. I would love it if every major player, every person that's been on AEW TV, whatever TV, got a wrestling figure. I am here for that. So I like what they're doing here at Boss Fight. Now, no sign of the MLW figures. Those are supposed to be shipping in, I think, the fall. Makes me wonder a little bit on that. We'll see what happens with those. There was no word anywhere at the convention of the Impact figures. Nobody knows what's going on there. I had heard late summer. I don't know if that is even a possibility at this point. We'll wait and see, but nothing on those either. There was a few other, there wasn't really any other wrestling figures to note at San Diego Comic-Con or any news or anything, but if I did miss something, I will gonna have a catch-all video. Weekly purchases and toy news this weekend. I'll get back on track. Toy news, I'm gonna cover some of my thoughts and some of the things, some shout-outs from San Diego Comic-Con. I'll digest all that in that video. And then anything that's missed or any new news since San Diego Comic-Con, I will talk about that in that video as well. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of fun stuff. So there it is. There's the wrestling, AEW, and everything else San Diego Comic-Con news. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What are you looking forward to? Let me know. What do you think about this vault from Jazzwares? Let me know in the comments down below. Made it this far, don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the old notification bell. We got videos every single day and then some, and even more content, if you can believe it, over on the Patreon channel. Patreon, the best way to support the channel and all the content. Sign up and get all kinds of exclusive stuff over there. You can also support the channel, ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. Don't forget to hit me up, follow along on social media. SirPaul64 on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson. So for San Diego Comic-Con wrestling news, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.